So can you just tell us quickly how you think the scheme will transform the area in Paris?
In every way, really, because if you look at the mixture of activities that come together, and most towers are predominantly one use, they're either residential or they're office towers, to be able, in a small cluster of towers, to be able to get hotels, apartments, shops, offices, culture in terms of the gallery, the auditorium. It is a true mix, and in that sense, coming out to the water, greening the banks of the Seine, and in a way reversing some of those earlier policy decisions that were not just related to Paris, but very much of the 1960s, when, in a way, the life of a river was cut off from, the bank became a kind of high-speed road. So I think it addresses a whole range of issues, and being very well served by public transport with a new station, easy walking distance of the heart of La Défense. So I think it's a place in its own right. It's very much a part of the area of La Défense, and in the bigger picture, Paris itself, with the focus on the Grand Axe.
And what was the main inspiration for the scheme for you?
I think the main inspiration was in a way, the ambition of the combination of the site, of the mayor, the person who is now the minister. So in the civic, political domain, there was a real will to do something special, and a developer equally enlightened who again wants to do something well. So that has to be the most fantastic starting point. And so it's very much one team, and it's a team that's really worked together over the length of the project. There have been key meetings in Paris, in London, in various places. So this is a very important stage in the project.
So this is a project that's going ahead. Obviously, many aren't at the moment, and it's a tough time for many. Is this the worst you've ever seen it?
This is, well, we've over 40 years, one's seen more than one recession, and there, that's tough. I mean, there's no escaping it. It is what it is. The nice thing about this project is, as you might have heard, it does have the funding. It is starting on site next year, and it will be reality by, 4 years later. So, what
would your main piece of advice be to young architects who are facing job losses and difficult times at the moment?
I think that sometimes particular points in time that seem really, really tough, and the reality is they are tough. But in the bigger picture of things, often one looks back to some of those hard times, and there are positive things which do come out of it in terms of maybe a particular kind of perspective, and it is cyclical. I mean, it's not the first time that this has happened, and there'll be an inevitable recovery. And probably an inevitability that there'll be another in the future cyclical situation. It is a pattern which sadly does repeat itself. But maybe that pattern repeats itself in other aspects of our world.
Do you think the heavy emphasis on infrastructure-led development at the moment might damage sort of architectural vision in terms of young architects skilling up?
No, I couldn't disagree more. I mean, I would say that the infrastructure, if you like, the urban glue, the connections, the bridges, the streets, the public spaces, are arguably more important than the individual buildings. And I say that as an architect, with a passion for design and design of individual buildings. But if you ask me, what are the significant projects that we might have done over the years, I would find it very, very hard to decide whether the infrastructure projects, like, say, the bridge across the Thames, Trafalgar Square, in terms of the pedestrianisation, whether the infrastructure, and the infrastructure projects are vitally important to us as a company. And I could never imagine that any of the fantastic young architects who are part of our team would think that they were doing a lesser job if they were working on a bridge or a metro system than if they were working on a building. So I think that in terms of the civic domain, nothing is more important than infrastructure.